Saghee Fogwe podcast. Elevate your life, empowering insights for growth, success, and fulfillment.
Here today, another show, another great one. It's a part two of a show that we started in June, I believe. Wow, it's been that long. We started in June and we ran out of time because it was such an interesting topic and people were so excited about it that we had to suspend you a little bit, give you a cliffhanger. And now I'm bringing that person back because it's been a popular demand. A lot of viewers enjoyed that show. There have been reels going around with little excerpts from that show, and we thought that it would be necessary to continue that conversation. So I'm not going to delay any further. I'm going to bring in my good friend, brother. I mean, he's a community person. He's a motivational speaker. He's a father. He's a husband. He's your next door neighbor. He's that person down the street who just puts a smile on your face when you see him. He just radiates joy, happiness, positivity. And he's here to share a little bit of that with us today. We're talking about mindsets today. So I'm not going to start the conversation without bringing him in. He's no other person than Mr. Gustav Achu. Welcome, my
Awesome,
brother.
awesome.
Welcome,
Hey, Saghee,
welcome.
can you hear me well?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Awesome, awesome. At 6'4", 270 pounds, sometimes I don't want to be too loud because then it might break people's ears.
No, you sound great. You sound great.
Hi.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Always a great pleasure. How have you been? It's a great pleasure to just see you, to be able to come back again on your platform. Just want to congratulate you immensely for all the great work you do,
Thank
right?
you.
One of the most difficult things they say is to transform minds, right? Is to
Yes.
be able to educate and transform a people. It's a slow but very, very productive process in the
Hmm.
long run, for sure. And when
Yes.
I look at what you do, what I look like, what your platform does, what other community platforms do, just trying to give us a chance to be able to not only live our best lives, but also be able to take advantage of the time we live in today.
Hmm.
I mean, I cannot just help but congratulate you and let you
Thank
know that
you.
I'm a big fan of yours, right?
Thank you so
I
much.
watch your shows all the time, and I feel this great privilege just being on the show today.
I know. And part two, let's share the
Awesome.
link before we go in any further. I think we should
Okay,
share early so we
awesome.
don't get
Yeah.
in trouble with people for not sharing. So I'm gonna, so YouTube keeps changing its format. So they're messing with me a little bit here.
Correct. Yeah, YouTube. YouTube is actually a lot is changing about them, right?
Yes, the
Yeah,
face
there's
of
just so
it,
much changes
changing
going
the
on.
format. Yeah.
Yes. I
All
mean,
right.
and I'm going to be talking a little bit on YouTube today. It's just incredible the opportunities that we're sitting on.
All right, so here we go. I'm going to share with you. I'm sure you got the link too because you
Yes,
are happy subscribed.
that's right.
Happily
That's right. I got
subscribed to
it.
the Saghee Fogwe podcast,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, there we go. I sent it to you, and I'll share here with guys real quick. It's going to be a good one, guys. So if you're just joining us, we're here with Mr. Gustav Achu. If you haven't heard him speak before, please grab a seat, get a notebook or a recorder, and make sure you don't miss this conversation. All right, so I've shared with a couple of people here. We can go ahead. All right, Let's get into this. I'm excited about part two. We started talking about the American dream in June, and then we kind of, went into the conversation of mindsets, but we didn't really focus on that as a topic. So we wanted to kind of bring it in and talk about reshaping, changing the immigrant mindset. And we're not only talking to immigrants because, yes, there's some of us who are immigrants because we came from another country and came here. But then if you look at the majority of the United States, or, we came from somewhere. You came from somewhere.
Absolutely.
Here. So I don't want anybody getting offended or feeling like this is just a conversation for immigrants. But then again, in one way or another, we all are. So before we go into it, I know not everybody knows you, Gustav. So for those who haven't watched, the first episode in June, just introduce yourself to the world. Let people know who Gustav is, where you're coming from, what you're about, your background. Just give us a brief summary about who Gustav is.
Awesome. Again, so it's a great pleasure, Saghee. Thank you for having me on the platform. So basically, of course, you said my name is Gustav B. Achu, and I've been a part of the community of just transformational messaging and being able to work on mindsets for the last 17 years. Right. I'm a business and sports mindset peak performance coach, and I'm also a transformational coach. What I mean by that is I just help people develop the mindsets that are needed for them to peak at their potential. In addition to that, I also work in the IT space as an IT professional, and that is my work. I usually like to talk about that because that is my job. That is what I do for a living. That's what I'm paid to do. But what I'm doing with you today, this is my work. This is my calling. This is my gift. This is the purpose why I live, right? Mm-hmm. So in the course of the conversation, we'll be certainly able to get to know a little bit more about me and be able to understand exactly some of the different dimensions and abilities that I can bring to the table to help those who are listening to us. So if you are listening to us right now, please go ahead and invite friends, invite family, invite anybody you can to join this conversation because it is going to be very, very interesting.
Yes, it will. Yes. So he motivates people. He encourages people. He coaches. No doubt he's the expert that needs to come talk to us about mindsets, right? So before we get into the meat of the matter, just define for us in general, what is mindset? In your words, what is mindset? What do we mean by that?
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you asked that question because it's nowadays it's like a cliche, right? We hear a lot of talk about mindset. What does it mean? There's a literary meaning for that. It's just a state of mind. It's the frame of your human mind, right? But in the time we live today, mindset is really an encapsulation of many things. But most importantly, number one, is an encapsulation of your core belief. What is it you believe in? What is it you are convinced about? What is it that is your philosophy in life? Number two, also, mindset serves as a fence around protecting your belief and being able to give you a chance to work within that protective space. Think about it this way. Think about like during a crisis, for example, maybe there is a crisis in an area and where there is, military battle. There's usually a safe space where they say, hey, guys, we're not going to do anything in this space. This is a space where, healthcare workers can come through. They can bring us food and that kind of thing. So your mindset is actually that ring of protection that you place around your philosophy, your beliefs, and protecting your mind. The reason why is because, the human mind is one of the most important things about human existence. It's usually said that until your mind starts believing it, mm-hmm. your body can never realize it. Mm-hmm. Right? So mindset is actually that encapsulation, that space, that ability to protect your beliefs, your philosophy, and work on it.
Wow. That's a really deep definition of mindset. And if we don't start from there, nothing else works. if that mind is not in the right place, nothing else works,
Absolutely.
right? And that's
Absolutely.
why we need to really have this conversation and have it multiple times in different settings with everybody in the community, because a lot of things that break us down are the fact that our mind is not strong. The
I,
mind,
I totally agree with you,
yes,
Saghee. You
yes,
are
it's
very
not in
right.
the right,
Be-
it's not. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, because one of the things people really don't pay attention to, and I say this quite a bit. I say we spend a lot of time, feeding our bodies. We spend a lot of time exercising. We pay gym memberships to go bulk up our arms, to go bulk up our chest, look fit, look all of this stuff, right? We spend a lot of time doing Botox and all these things to look beautiful in front of the camera, on social media, even in life, to feel good about ourselves. But we don't realize that we need to spend even double that amount of time and resources on our mindset, on building our minds, because the mind is the pillar. That is the fulcrum. That is where everything else starts from. There's an MIT University study that says if I tell somebody you cannot do it, I need 16 other people to come and tell that person that you can do it. And on the 17th time, that is when that belief will be erased and the new conviction of I can do it will set in. Think about that for a second, right? And the reason why I insist on mindset is because we live in a time today when we get carried away by what we see. Right? Everybody wants to look elegant. Everybody wants to look rich. Everybody wants to look successful. It's a great thing. We have to aspire to that. And in fact, there is no better time in life to aspire to that. But your mindset is the core of that reality. Your mindset is what is going to give you the ability to be able to live up to what you believe and you aspire to. Because remember, in life, every good thing must be attacked.
Yes.
Okay? And it's important to understand that anything that is stationary need no effort to hold it down. The only
True.
things that need effort is things that are moving. Right? If you're trying to
Mhm.
push a rock up a hill, you need energy. If you're trying to pull it down a hill, you need to hold it down so it doesn't come too fast. But if it's stagnant, it's stagnant. So a lot of times what will happen is that people who are trying to do something different with their lives, they will even need more reinforcement of their mindsets, because that is when you most probably get the most pushback,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. So by the way, Victor says you're looking sharp for this. So you look sharp.
Thank
I already told you you're as sharp as a steak knife.
thank you, thank you, thank
So
you.
somebody agrees
Uh-huh.
with me. You look as sharp
Thank
as a steak
you,
knife,
thank you, thank
So
you.
you can't be
I
talking
appreciate
about
that.
mindset and then you're looking all shabby, You have to look good, look the
I would-
part.
Thank you so
So
much.
yeah,
Thank you,
so at the
Saji.
intro, I kind of talked about who an immigrant is, but in
Hmm.
your in your words, you and I came from somewhere else. Just tell us who an immigrant is, what we're about, what immigrants are about, before we go into the conversation
Hmm.
about mindsets
Hmm.
related to that or reshaping mindsets. Just tell us who an immigrant is. Just to get
Absolutely. I
to
mean,
give
of
some
course,
direction.
yes, the natural, certainly the dictionary definition of an immigrant is somebody who moves from one location to another. It could be either a political territory, it could be an administrative territory, but usually across international boundaries, right? So for you and me sitting here, we're sitting in a country really primarily made up of immigrants from different parts of the world, right? And in this context, especially in the context of nowadays, immigration is more common because people move from one part of the world to different parts of the world. It could be the US, it could be Canada, it could be Europe, it could be different parts of the world, right? And what is driving that the most, of course, is the search for opportunities for people to express themselves, to be able to live their dreams, to live their realities, and to be able to live their potential. So, in the context of where we are, an immigrant, of course, is somebody who moved to America from a different part of the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. And of course, we're looking for freedom. And again, if we're imprisoned by our minds, that freedom will not be there. You know, if your mind is stagnant, like you said, it's not moving, you're not improving on it, you're not developing your mind, you're stagnant. So from your own experience, speak to people who are newly arrived in the US or in another country. Speak to
Mm-hmm.
people like that who, I mean, at
Mm-hmm.
some point, some 20 plus years ago, you were that person.
Absolutely.
I was that person, right? And I wish somebody
Absolutely.
had spoken to me and
Yes.
told me some things that would have changed my, changed my perspective, changed my direction, changed my path. So
Mm-hmm.
speak to people like
Mm-hmm.
that who are newly arrived.
Absolutely. And I think you touch on a very good point right there, Saghee, because the beginning is usually a big defining moment. The reason I say so is because, as we all know, there's usually the cliche that whoever picks you from the airport determines your future. People say that a lot, but I don't believe that is true. You can change the path and the trajectory of your life. The reason why that happens in a lot of cases is because we tend to become a little bit uh, nonchalant. We tend to become a little bit lazy. And what do I mean by that? Of course, coming into a new country can be very intimidating. I remember when I landed in Minneapolis in 2000. I mean, boy, we came from Douala, flew into Switzerland, Zurich Airport. I thought that was the biggest airport I've ever seen in my life. But when we landed in Atlanta, all right, the Atlanta airport is, I think, the third or fourth busiest airport in the world. It's a whole city. And I stood there and I said, oh, hallelujah. And by the time we were landing in Minneapolis, they picked us up in the bus and were taking us to our hostels. I was driving on a 5-lane highway. I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, am I going to make it work in America? But when I look back at that time and my journey all the way till this point, I think one of the most important things, especially when you're coming not only to America, any country that you are new to, the first thing is to give yourself a chance to understand the dynamic of that country. What it means is try to understand the culture of that country. It doesn't mean giving up your own culture. It just means being able to understand the culture and how the people function and being able to be culturally friendly and also make yourself culturally accessible. All right. Now, the second thing, which I think is very important, be curious, talk to people. You see, one of the things I realize as I get along in my life today is that most of the things I've learned and gotten came from people I met and just talked to them and ideas started flowing. All right. And the reason why it's important to talk to people is because what you would be experiencing, most likely somebody else has experienced that. There's really not much that a human being can experience in a new country that somebody else hasn't. One of the advantages we have today is that we have the internet. We have platforms like this, which can amplify that message. So in a way, for people even coming into different countries today, they don't really even need to talk to individuals per se. They can just listen to programs like this. They can listen to shows like this. They can follow teachers on social media, on YouTube, who have gone through and are teaching people about those things. Now, one of the things people need to realize, and it's important to understand, Sarge, is this is the greatest time humanity has ever seen, especially in the world where we live. Listen, I am presently, just to tell you how important it is to also continuously learn and continue to elevate yourself, no matter where you are, what country you come in. It's because we have access today to information like never before in the world. And free. And free, Saghee. It's incredible to me, right? I am presently, believe you me, I am presently taking a course on how to be successful on the YouTube platform.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I paid somebody $4,000 to join the class. Let me tell you this thing. You know the interesting part? That guy has 1,500 people in that class. Do the math and tell me how much it's
So
making.
4,000 by 1,500.
Good. It's going to be a 4-month class.
Wow.
You know all he's doing? This guy joined YouTube in 2007, so he's accumulated his experience over 2000, over many years, and he's teaching people how to be successful on YouTube. And I realized that for me to be successful on that platform, which is the platform I want to use for the rest of my career, I have to humble myself and go learn from the people who know. Do I make sense? So one of the most important things for anybody moving into another country after starting to acculturalize is also at every point in time, source a mentor. Find a mentor.
Yes.
Find somebody who can help guide you. And when I say this, a mentor does not only have to come from your community.
Exactly.
Okay? Yeah, a mentor should actually, even if you have a mentor from your community, that is great. But also find a mentor from the culture of the country where you are in. Because they'll be able to show you things from the perspective of their own view on those things, which you will not be able to see if you just stay only within the culture of where you come from. I joke a lot sometimes about this when I go to Maryland to visit my friends, and this is in no way trying to downgrade nobody, but I'm just saying sometimes I joke. I say there are people in Maryland who've never ordered dinner from a regular menu. They've just really never been to a regular restaurant, right? Because we have so many Cambodian restaurants, so many, cultural restaurants where you can just walk in. Oh, mommy, give me my fufu, give me this, right? I mean, nothing wrong with that. I just give an example, right? So what I'm saying is that it's important to get a mentor, to find somebody who can guide you in anything you want to do, right? The other important thing is start doing something. A lot of times, and this is assuming that, you've come in, you got your papers regularized. We all understand all those difficulties. So I'm talking about the situation where you are good to go, okay? Start doing something. And when I mean by start doing something is meaning a lot of people end up with paralysis, which means they spend too much time planning and never executing. And analyzing, okay? I can always tell you, Saghee, that a plan that executed and failed is always going to be better than a perfect plan that never was executed. Because at the end of the day, it only happens when the tire hits the road. So you must start. Most people most immigrants in different countries who are successful, right? Who people look up to like they're successful, they started somewhere.
Yes.
For example, my own journey. When I came to America, as a nursing assistant. I was working in a nursing home, taking care of older adults, providing intimate care to them, providing food, and all those different things, right? I moved from there. I went to school, became a licensed practical nurse. A licensed practical nurse gave me a chance to be able to make a little bit more money and be able to also find time to think, right? I worked as a practical nurse, raised some money. I went down to the University of California in Berkeley, and I did a graduate program in marketing and international business. I left, I went back to Africa, I tried to do business 3 years, it didn't work out. I was bankrupt, I was finished. I came back and I started my life all over, right?
I didn't know that part. That story, that piece,
that would
I
be a
didn't
conversation
know.
for another day. That's a whole session. That's a whole story. Yeah.
That's
but
part
now,
of the journey, though. But that's part of the journey. That's part of building the mindset, right? The strong mindset.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Why do I recount these simple steps? I recount them because at the end of the day, you have to start somewhere, right? I am very grateful for the opportunity to have ever worked as a nursing assistant. Let me tell you why. It taught me something very important. Not that I didn't have it. My father and my mother taught me a lot about humility. But working as a nursing assistant taught me a lot about humility and understanding that at the end of the day, it's not about the number of years in your life. It's about the life in those years. At the end of the day, it's never about what you get. It's about what you can impact in people. I used to take care of people. Many people who've worked in those places don't have the same probably experience. You take care of people who are worth 40, 50, 60 million dollars. They're laying in the bed. They're counting on you to give them food to eat. Right? These are people who used to be titans of communities. If
Yeah.
that doesn't teach you humility, then
Yeah.
nothing will. But
Okay.
it also teaches you that life is finite. You are not going to be
Mhm.
here forever. So
Yeah.
if you want to do something, start doing it.
Yes.
Don't keep analyzing, don't keep planning, don't keep thinking and trying to know if it's going to be the safest thing before you
Mhm.
do. No, your
Yeah,
life is going to
there's a
pass you by.
comment there's a comment in there. Sister Viviane Keme says she has the fear factor. It plays a big part, and she's always scared to start something new. And you're speaking to people like her
Yeah.
right now. You're speaking to people like her. So go ahead. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Mhm.
And Sister Vivian certainly makes a good point. And thank you for that, Sister Vivian. You are not alone. You are part of the majority. So don't feel isolated. All right. You're part of the majority. The number one reason why people never hit their potential in life is the fear of failure. But here's the deal. All of that is a mindset thing. It's a conditioning thing. Because
Mhm.
whenever people think about doing something new, the first instinctive thing that comes to them is, oh, if this doesn't work, what
Yeah.
if it works?
Exactly.
What if it works? That's
Yeah.
my question to you, right? And the reason why is because it's nothing bad. It's nothing wrong with us human beings. That's how we
Mhm.
are naturally wired. The human mind default setting is negativity,
Mhm.
is darkness before light, is is fear before
Mhm.
joy, is the ability of thinking of the worst case scenario before the
Mhm.
best case scenario. That
Mhm.
is the human natural setting of our mind. And the reason why it's designed like that is because our number one priority is self-preservation and self-protection.
Mhm.
So anything that we think might take away from self-preservation and self-protection, we try to protect that thing by
Yeah.
looking at the other side, which is not going to work. When you think about doing something new, you are thinking, oh, if I fail, my friends will laugh at me. If I fail, I would have lost money. If I fail,
Mhm.
maybe community will think this.
They'll talk
And
about
the,
me.
and the first thing that you're thinking is, how do I preserve, how do I avoid getting there? And to
Mhm.
avoid getting there, I don't do it. So that
Don't do
fear overwhelms
anything.
you,
Yes.
right? Now, what I want to say about that is the truth of the matter is from my experience and the experiences of a lot of successful people. Over the last 5 to 6 years, I've read at least 300 books on success and mindset and achieving in life, right? I've attended seminars, I've taken trainings, and I do that intentionally
Mhm.
because to understand how people get to those places where they get to, you need to understand how they think. And not only how they think, but how they were able to convince their minds to think
Mhm.
differently from the default setting that our minds are naturally designed to think, right? So
Let
the
me
fear
jump
of,
in real quick, Gustav, because
yes,
remember you made the comment about when whoever picks you up from the airport. I was
correct.
in that mindset. I was one of those people who thinks that way.
Yes,
And you just corrected that thinking right now, saying that whoever picks you up determines your journey. But
yes.
think about somebody who doesn't have this mindset that you're describing to us, the immigrant
Mm-hmm.
mind. You're trying to reshape the immigrant mindset,
That's
right?
correct.
But there are some
That's
people
correct.
who you maybe you never thought that you were going to make it to this country. You
Mm-hmm.
saved up your money, you borrowed, you whatever, you did whatever you needed to do to come here. And that person
Correct.
who picks you up is you look at them like your role model. They
Mm-hmm.
know it all. They're in the land of milk and honey. And
Mm-hmm.
so they pick you up from the airport. So all you're looking up to that person and saying that this person knows it all. And if they tell you,
Absolutely.
you come in and you're thinking, hey, I want to go be a motivational speaker, and they're looking like you, are
Mm-hmm.
you crazy? Have you lost your mind? And five of their friends visit and they have that same mindset. How
Mm-hmm.
do you fight
Mm-hmm.
through those five mindsets? You just came. You're not savvy enough. Yes, we now have the resources that you and I have now, but we back
Mm-hmm.
then, let's say 30 years ago, they weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're depending on those five people. So
Mm-hmm.
how do you fight through that? Speak to people who are still struggling with that even today, because we say with
Mm-hmm.
four fools in a room, the fifth one is you. If you're hanging
Mm-hmm.
out with
Mm-hmm.
four fools, you're the fifth fool, or you're hanging out with
Mm-hmm.
5 millionaires, you're the sixth millionaire. Things like that.
Absolutely.
So,
I think,
mhm,
yes, I think you make a very good point there, Sagi.
mhm.
Right? I'm not sure exactly if you can hear me.
Yes, I
Can you hear me?
can. I can hear
Okay,
you loud and
awesome,
clear. Yes.
So I think you make a very good point. It's important to also understand that it is a journey, right? It is
Yes.
a journey. What I mean by that is we also have to, what I advise a lot of young people, including people who travel to different countries, don't be in a rush. Nothing good, nothing consistent, nothing solid, nothing truly successful can be built in a hurry. Number one. Number two, even the people who pick you up, they contribute significantly to your life. Number one, they even give you the confidence to know that you have somebody you can look up to, right? Number two, they give you shelter. They give you also the ability to a starting platform. What I'm saying is don't only earn at the level of what they tell you, because they will only tell you things based on their own experience. And it doesn't mean the experience is wrong. It doesn't mean the experience doesn't suffice. It just means the experience might be different from where you're trying to go. And it is your responsibility to look out for information, for data, for things that can help you achieve and access the levels and the accomplishments that you aspire to without disparaging the humble beginnings. One of the things I want people a lot, especially young people, because we live in a time today when sometimes there is this misconstrued dissonance, right? We see people on social media, everyone just thinks you can do this and tomorrow you become this. You can just do this. And yes, the runway has become a little bit shorter because maybe we have technological tools that have made it shorter. But the fundamentals of building something solid, something long lasting will never change. Number one, honesty, for example.
Yes.
Number two, customer service. Customer service means providing more than what you are paid to do, right? Number three, Number three, the ability to see the bigger picture, right? I'm on your platform today. Actually, I was even supposed to drive down to Dallas to be with you
Yes.
in studio, but a few things happened, right? And
Yes.
just to make it understandable, it's just basically a relationship. I've known you for many years. I like
Yeah.
what you're doing, and I can make the sacrifice to drive down
Yes.
for nothing. But
Yes.
it's not for nothing, because this video is going to be resident on YouTube. YouTube is going to last for 60 years. Our children's children might watch this one day and they would benefit from something that will help them become presidents, become CEOs, become life-changing technologies, become nurses, nurse practitioners, medical practitioners, entrepreneurs that will change life forever. The reason I
True.
say that is because I listened to videos from 40 years ago on YouTube. And so I told myself, I said, Gustav, you know what? It's not just about doing stuff that you love, making a living out of it, but I think the most important thing is building a legacy.
Yes.
How would what you are doing right now benefit people 40 years from today? If it's not going to benefit them, I'm not doing it. That's why I decided I'll get on your platform. That's why I can drive down to Dallas to be on your platform
Yes.
for nothing.
Yeah.
Because this is important stuff, right? So for the young people, we're talking about the fear of failure and also just being able to walk through that, right? So for people who come in and you have a mentor in the person who picked you up, that is good. The way I usually look at it is look at what they are doing, ask them questions, understand, start with what you can start. A lot of times they will tell you about the things they are doing for you to do or follow their trajectory to start. But the reality of the matter is, the way I started my life in America 20 years ago, for example, if I have somebody asking me today who is coming today, the circumstances are not necessarily the same. They can live about 5 to 7 years because today they have access to trainings and to
Yes.
platforms and to different things that can give them a chance to get to where they're aspiring to get to faster. But the most important thing is that they must always remember there is some work involved. I think one of the most deceitful things of the time we live today is that based on what we see, based on the perception of glamour and all those things, people tend to think it's easy. Oh, I can just do this and do this and do this and I'll get this.
Make
No,
money.
there is
No.
some work to it. There is a lot of work to it. I was just telling you about the fact that I'm taking a YouTube class. It's
Yes.
only while taking this class I realized YouTube is actually a degree program in terms of the intensity of work. So I study
Wow.
10 hours a day to understand
Wow.
the platform and become successful, because
Wow.
my goal is to have 1 million subscribers in the next 36 months so that my message can be amplified. For
That's
me to do that,
amazing.
I cannot assume I already know. I
Mm.
cannot sit and just be doing things because somebody says you can go to YouTube and do this. No, I'm investing the time, I'm investing the resources, I'm investing my mind, I'm investing even present earnings for future
The
gains.
future gain, yeah, because we
So
only
there is
think
a need.
a lot that we have the tendency of thinking about today, thinking about Saturday, thinking about next week, and not looking beyond that. There's that mindset of instant gratification. I want to buy
Absolutely.
this pair of shoes today. I want to buy this, I mean, we like good things. We're not saying that we shouldn't look good, like as sharp as as my friend
Mhm.
looks on screen.
It's
We
not
still have
mutually
to look
exclusive.
sharp.
In fact,
Yes.
I advocate for that heavily.
Yes, but we want to look beyond that. And like you're saying, investing,
Absolutely.
because there's that tendency of us looking, not wanting to invest, whether, it's in the workplace. Well, workplace, it's kind of difficult. In the workplace, your employer, foots the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say in our organizations, in our
Mm-hmm.
community, when you
Mm-hmm.
when you have some things that come up that you expect people to invest something in and looking at the future, there's not
Mm-hmm.
you don't have that mindset of this is going to benefit me down the road. Everybody wants to know, how is that going to benefit me today?
Mm-hmm.
Speak to our community in terms of that, because you've kind of touched
Mm-hmm.
on it a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
investing. We have to think
Mm-hmm.
beyond
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, beyond next week, because there are generations to
Absolutely.
come. Yeah.
Mm. No, you make a very good point, Saghee. And it's not only something that is common with us, right? It's something that plagues humanity in general. But a lot of other communities have figured out the ability to see and to be able to pay the price now for benefits tomorrow. Now, I was reading a book by a great author. He's the #1 author on leadership, right? And he said, the only time you are able to really judge yourself as a leader, one of the most important things is understanding and the willingness to plant a tree under whose shade you will never see it. I want that to sink in a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And it comes down to that point about the ability to postpone present enjoyment for future gains. Now,
Yes.
there is also a context to it. I won't talk about it as if it's that simplistic. There are a lot of things that influence immigrant actions, immigrant behavior, immigrant spending behavior, and things like that. Number one, we have to recognize that a lot of immigrants coming into America come from a background of lack. When I say lack relatively of material perceived enjoyment, right? And so the natural human tendency is one to enjoy some of those things. Nothing wrong with that. It's fair, right? The second thing also is the fact that, especially from the continent we come from in Africa, we are still getting to this. We are just at that first generation of a few really wealthy people. When I say wealthy people, we talk about the Dangotes, we talk about some African billionaires, right? So the whole concept of that kind of wealth is starting to become reality in our minds. So for a lot of Africans immigrating into places like America, like Canada, places where there's more economic opportunity, right? It's now crystallizing that belief into concrete actions and start seeing it come to fruition.
Yes.
But the underlying reality is, when you look across the board, unless in the situation of people who inherited, even when they inherited wealth, if they have to multiply the wealth, they'll have to make some sacrifices. But for people who build wealth from scratch, there is always one factor that is common with all of them: the ability to postpone present enjoyment for future gains. What does postponing present enjoyment for future gains mean, Saghee? It basically means, for example, as an immigrant working in America today, leveraging investment in the stock market, right? If you're putting, let's say, $100 every month in an ETF is basically a bucket of stocks, right? It's an exchange traded fund, right? $100 every month from the age of 21. By the time you get to 65, you'll be sitting on over, I believe, a couple of $100,000 from $100, right? Now, what it really means is that you won't be able to consume that $100 a month.
Yeah.
You won't be able to use it to buy something nice which you might have wanted, right? So think about now, if you amplify that, that even becomes more significant. I hear a lot of people talk about, when I ask a lot of people, what is it you aspire to? What is your goal, right? Why are you trying to make money? Oh, I want to be free. I say, okay, tell me, what does free mean? What does free mean? Oh, well, I want to have a house where I don't have to worry about a nice house or a nice car or a nice this or a nice that. I say, okay, that's fine and good. First of all, you have to define what that is, right? What does it mean? Because when you define what it means, then it's easier for you to make the sacrifice it takes to be able to get there. Right. So I think the other very important thing, especially for immigrant people, is the ability to think about the people coming after us.
Afterwards.
And the generations after that generation, after that generation, after that generation, after that generation, right? I hear a lot of times, people say, oh, I want to make sure my kids get what I never had. And when I hear that, it's a great thing. I like that mindset. And now when I start asking, what is it that you never had that you want them to get? I don't want them to ever suffer in life. I say, no, but you know what? Maybe the fact that you had some luck when you're growing up, you had to walk 10 miles to school, that is actually what gave you the ability to work so hard. Because, Saghee, when I read through all the stories and biographies of successful people, right? Somebody said something very interesting. The person said, listen, if they take the wealth of the world and redistribute it equally to everyone in this world in the next two generations, which is 20 to 40 years, the money will come back to the same people who used to have it. What that tells me and you is that it's not about giving. It's about having the mindset to utilize resources to multiply it. It's not about the resources, it's about your resourcefulness. Okay?
Yes.
That's why a lot of times you would have situations where successful people rise, they die, and their children cannot continue with the wealth.
The legacy.
Why is it that case? It tells you that it's not about the resources, it's about resourcefulness. So
and
what the smart
it's
people
also
do?
Let me cut you a little bit there. It's also about the ability, the capacity, being ready for the capacity of growth.
Building.
Yes, because
you're correct. I'll get into that.
Yes, you might have the wealth, you might have the path to it, you might be praying every day, because we Africans, we love to pray. We pray for wealth, we pray for growth, we pray for success, we pray for all the good things that come our way. And I'm a pastor's kid, so I'm not discounting prayer. But what it is our minds ready for that growth for whatever is handed to you. When that hand is given to you, are you ready for it? Are you able to keep up with it? And before you answer that, Sister Vivian again says, she says, I beg, time waits for no one. Enjoy if you can, because you may not make it to that time to enjoy. So respond to her, and then we'll come to the capacity.
Absolutely. And Sister Vivian is very right. It's a balance. I will never sit here and tell somebody, hey, don't enjoy your life. No. It's a balance, right? But while you are doing the balance, what I'm advocating for is, first of all, to clarify what enjoyment means. Because one of the things which is very glaring to me as I go around, not only in our communities, in a lot of other communities, I interact in a lot of other communities. They invite me. Last week, I was at an Indian community. I was in different communities. One of the things that I noticed is a lot of times people don't really define what enjoyment is for them. People define enjoyment based on what they perceive enjoyment to be for somebody else.
That's
So to
deep.
me personally, I advocate very strongly that people first of all define what enjoyment means. What is enjoyment? I have a friend of mine who is in Dallas, right? He acquired a big piece of land, a farmland, about 35 acres. He plants vegetables, he does some chicken. Man, that guy is in the greatest time of his life. He has defined very clearly what amounts to enjoyment to him. Right? So I advise people a lot, I advocate a lot for people to spend some time thinking, because Sister Vivian is right. Yes, it's important to enjoy life. And enjoying life requires what? At least from my perspective, I am very intentional about the things that truly mean and make me content and fulfilled. And I won't hesitate investing in those things. The things that don't make me content and fulfilled, I won't hesitate cutting costs of those things. That is the kind of mindset I'm talking about. But by every means, it's important to smell the roses as you get along. It's very important. Thank you for that brilliant one, Sister Vivian. But also understanding that there will be sacrifice to get to make sure it's churches for years to come.
Yeah, we were talking about capacity, like the capacity, being ready for the wealth that is handed to us. So speak again to us, to our community, about preparing for that capacity, right? Or preparing for the wealth that is given to us, or the growth.
No, even the one that we generate. Let me tell you something, Saghee. And this is something that is really important, right? Because we have gotten now to the immigrant population, especially, I will talk about America because I mastered the place, right? The immigrant population in America has gotten to that point where we are starting to see the first generation of millionaires in dollars. I'm talking about African-born immigrants who were born in Africa, came to America maybe in their 20s, in their 30s. They work their way through school, entrepreneurship, use the skill they have, leverage some kind of gift they have, and they are millionaires today, legitimately, honestly, and progressively.
Cash millionaires.
So what that means is we should, as a people, start getting our minds to believe that we deserve a piece of the American dream cake. You see, one of the things that limits us a lot is we come with a mindset of very low expectation. Because we have very low expectation, having a 4-bedroom, 2,500 square feet home just becomes a great achievement. But it is an achievement, don't get me wrong. But that same person doesn't realize that maybe if they spent a little bit of time reading some books in the interest of what they like, they would find themselves excelling at something which is a gift that they have, which is unique. Because I believe every human being has a unique gift. Every human being has a purpose, has something that they can execute at that level of excellence that nobody else can execute. One of the things that I believe happens with us, especially immigrant people, when they move to some of these countries like America, Australia, Europe, where it's economically a little bit vibrant, we become complacent. We become easily content. We become easily satisfied because we are comparing our present circumstance with where we came from, instead of comparing our present circumstance with what our potential is.
Yes. Very true.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because anytime you compare it with where you came from, it will always seem like you've achieved so much. But you are limiting your own self.
Yes.
You are rewiring your capability. You are limiting your capacity. You are underestimating what you can do. I'll give you an example, Saghee. Listen, there's a young man I have been watching. I stumbled on his video many months ago, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago in Canada. I don't know how he just came to my profile on YouTube, and they call him Choco Millionaire. He's a guy from Ghana, all right? And that's his name, Choco Millionaire. And he talks about, he just advises people, if you want to come study in Canada, if you want to immigrate to Canada, that kind of stuff. This is 4 months ago, Saghee. He had about 17,000 subscribers. 4 months later, he has about 100,000 subscribers, averaging about 50,000 views. Okay. Now, let me say this, and let me say this very clearly, right? I am sure that There is nothing that indicated to him coming into Canada that he could build such capacity. Based on the video I listened to when he was talking about his background and all of that good stuff, right? There's nothing that indicated that. But he took a stand, he made a decision, he acted upon it, and the rest of the universe came around to support that dream. That's just a simple example, and it goes across the board. All I'm just trying to say is that let's not get complacent.
Yes.
We underestimate ourselves a lot. Africans underestimate themselves a lot. Let me tell you, listen to this statistic. 88% of African-born populations, 25 and older, report having a high school diploma, which is a GED. African immigrants obtain a diploma at the rate of 2 times US-born white America and 4 times Black America. 48% of African immigrants hold a college diploma at least. 20% of all adult African immigrants in the US hold a graduate degree. Why are we not great?
It's our minds. It's our minds.
Why are we not doing the great things in this country?
It's our minds.
Because we limit ourselves. Right? We underestimate what we are capable of doing. I was talking to a great friend of mine. This gentleman is actually a medical doctor out in Tennessee. He was the top of his class that year in the GC advanced level out of Sacred Heart. Top-notch boy. Came to America, went to University of Michigan, cleared medical school. He specialized in gastronomy and some other things. And every once in a while we chat, and I tell him, bro, you know what? I still believe you have more in you. Yes, you're a gastrology doctor. You're making maybe $500 million a year. If the dream was to come to America, become a doctor, buy a big house, buy a Mercedes, get a wife, have children, go on vacations, you have already achieved all of that by the time you're 40. And you're going to live for another 45 years. What else is there? So the question I'm asking you now, my brother, based on the intellect I know you have and the capacity you have, who are the people who are going to do research to solve our own Afrocentric health troubles? Who are the people who are going to transform medicine to favor our own people? Who are the people who are going to maybe get out there and look at our own natural resources from leaves to fruits to different gifts and blessings that we have and transform that into marketable treatment for the world? Because until you start thinking about something beyond you, that's why I talked about the fact that you have to think about planting a tree under whose shade you are not going to sit. That's when now you stop limiting yourself. And that should be applied to any area of expertise you have or you want to do.
Even
whatever you do in life.
Even our jobs, even the jobs that we work at, we don't think outside. Like once you sit in that little cubicle, they give you your job description, you end right there. You don't think about expanding beyond that. It doesn't even work. Let's even start from there before you go out to your own thing, doing your own thing and expanding on that, So that's a really great point about us being limited, just sitting in that box, And again, there's a comment from Nito. Nito, thanks for watching. He says, great question. Freedom means different things for different people, which, again, we're talking about the capacity. Your capacity to staff might be so much, and the next person, they're looking at the capacity like, that's too much. I can't handle that much. That is too much for me. Or I don't want, or people pray limited prayers, like, don't give me too much. I can't handle more than that. So.
And too much, and Saghee, too much based on whose expectation, too much based on whose capability. Listen, anytime you are not stretching, you are not growing. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yes.
Nito will just put a comment there. That's a brother of mine.
Yes.
We've been through the trenches. We've started businesses, they fail, we start, they fail, and we are still starting and working on them. Some succeed, some don't. But here's the deal. The goal is not just starting them. The goal is not just trying to make money. It will make money. The goal is trying to live up to what we gifted naturally as our potential. And
Yes.
nobody should limit themselves. I say it again because the way people limit themselves is because they try to look at their capability based on what they perceive other person's capability to be. That is wrong. If you are going to judge a tortoise by how fast they can climb a tree, they will be last. If you are going to judge a fish by how fast they can run on land, they will be last. If you are going to judge a cheetah, which is the fastest animal on earth, and how fast he can swim, he's going to be last. We all have different unique gifts. Don't
Yeah.
judge your gift based on somebody
Somebody
else's.
else's.
Use somebody who might have your gift as a mentor or as a source of inspiration. No two people are the same. You're a masterpiece, and no two masterpieces are the same.
Yeah. There's
You can
another
still be doing the
question.
same thing, but you bring a different flair to it. That's why there is McDonald's, there is Burger King, there is Wendy's. They are all selling hamburgers, but different flares of hamburgers, and all of them are successful.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
another question. Lux Lobe. I hope I said that correctly. Thanks for
Hey,
watching. They
Lux,
said,
yeah,
yeah, Lux.
that's the boy. He's a very,
Okay.
very inspirational artist,
Okay.
great singer, and composer, and entertainer.
Awesome. You
Hey,
need to
Lux,
come on the
yeah.
show. We need to talk to you too. Most times people feel lost in the complexities of the system. How can we break that fear?
Awesome. That's a very powerful question, Lux. That's a very powerful question. That's true. And I can only I will talk a little bit generally about that, right? The complexity of the system. That's true. It feels there is nobody who can claim that immigrating to a different country, especially from Africa to maybe America, Canada, your parts, different countries in Europe or China or Asia, anywhere. It's a little bit overwhelming because a lot of these countries are infrastructurally more advanced, right? So we experience and we see things that we've not experienced. So it takes a little bit of time to set it. Now, the number one thing I recommend to people is number one, you must be intentional about strengthening your mind. What does strengthening your mind mean, right? I believe everybody, every human being must find something that they listen to consistently or read consistently that keeps their mind on the hopeful, the positive, and the side of I can do it. I can do it. It doesn't matter what you want to do in this world. It's important. That to me is the very first thing, number one. Number two, put the responsibility on yourself to find things out for yourself. You see, one of the things that happened with a lot of immigrant people is that they count on information from people who don't know better.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to disparage nobody here, but I'm saying that we count on information from people who don't know better. You move into a new country, you have your family, they can sponsor you, they can help you. Please talk to an immigration lawyer in that country. Don't start talking to your friends about how this thing work. Yes, they can tell you of their experiences, but they're not experts.
They're
I'm,
not, and they're
I'm,
not
I'm
your
saying,
experience because your
yes,
experience is not mine.
it's not, right? That's just an
Yeah.
example. Now, if you get interested in something that you might think that you might be interested in to do, right? Maybe you just came in and you're thinking, oh, okay, maybe I should start doing this. Talk to somebody who is doing that. How is that line of work? How is that line of business? How can I get involved? Let me tell you this, Saghee. 99% of human beings want to be recognized and regarded as being good and helpful. Trust me, 99% of human beings want to come across as being good.
People
If you talk to
pleasers.
people,
Being a people pleaser, right?
not people pleaser, but just being as being helpful.
To be helpful. Okay, you're
Yes,
saying just being good
yes.
or helpful. Okay.
Correct. Yes. People like to identify with success stories. That's why when people achieve something in their life and they are giving credit to people who help them, if they forget to give credit to somebody who thinks they
They
help
get
them,
mad
it can cause a family problem
and they
because
walk out
everybody
of their
wants to be
mouth.
helpful, right? So talk to somebody, ask people some questions. So it's complex. You are right, Lux, because different countries, they might have different rules. You might have to go through immigration before you go through settling down. For some people, you might not even have somebody who welcomes you, right? But I say it's important to find ways to keep your mind on the positive side, right? Also, be curious. Try to know what it takes to be successful in that country or in that area or in that business or in that school or whatever it is that you do. We live in a great time today because this information is available for free. Don't forget, Saghee. I come back to YouTube because YouTube is the greatest platform that humanity will ever see. YouTube has 2.4 billion active users. YouTube is the number two search engine in the world after Google. Okay. YouTube has 200 million people making money off YouTube by answering basic, stupid, common sense, simple questions. How do I change a bulb in my house? Go type it on YouTube right now. Somebody has done a short video teaching you how to change that specific bulb in that specific bulb case.
Yes.
Right? So wherever you find yourself, whatever the complexities might be, ask those questions you are asking yourself to YouTube, and YouTube will answer it for you. What I just landed in Iran. What can I do to get African food? Ask it to YouTube now and see what it tells you. Or maybe ChatGPT. Some information will come true. And I'm, of course, assuming today with the proliferation of internet, most people have internet access and they have cell phones. Use your cell phone. The key here, again, I come back to is the mindset. If you don't think it like that, you will not act on it. You will feel lost. You will feel like you don't have no way out. You have the way out. Use the resources that are available to you. Any question you think, anything I think about, Saghee, I type it and I find out. Anything. Midnight, sometimes I'm trying to sleep and a question comes to my mind and I come to the YouTube or the Google. I Google, this is that. It doesn't mean it's always right, but you should be able to do a little due diligence in the sense that if you hear the information, don't just take it from Gustav, right? Find 3 other people or 4 other people, right? You'll be able now to determine if it's true or not, because you have to do some due diligence. Again, it's internet. Everybody has the right to put anything on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's another question. This one is in Pidgin. Toride has to ask in Pidgin. Toride.
Yes, very important.
So what to be the role of those who receive fresh bush fallers in building their mindsets?
Awesome. I think that's a brilliant question, Toride. Brilliant question. Very brilliant, because just like I said earlier, the people who receive fresh bush fallers are the number one voice in their ears and the number one influence in their lives. Those people have a big role to play. They are already playing a big role by even receiving them, right? The other role, which I think is important for them to play, is to be transparent with them. Transparent means being able to help guide them with your experiences, but not as they do it or go all for it. I don't know if it makes sense. The other important role they have to play also is being able to help these people see the country they are coming in, not from the ability of what is possible, of what exists at that time, but for what is possible in the long term. And the reason why is because, yes, the person receiving you to your new country, right? They have different experiences they've lived through. A lot of times they'll talk to you about the experiences and their different challenges. But there too, if they haven't also elevated their mindset, if they haven't also opened up their minds a little bit and put in information in their minds that helps to foster the concept of abundance, it will be hard for them to transfer what they don't have.
Yes, very
That's
true.
why continuous learning is a must for everyone, even those who are already in the situation where things are working or they think they're already successful and things like that. Continuous learning is a must. It's imperative. It's imperative. It's imperative. It's imperative. Because things are changing very fast. Studies are indicating that between 20 to 50% of the jobs that exist today will not exist in 20 years.
Yeah.
That's what studies are telling you and me. I'm sure 20 years ago, if somebody told me that Kodak will be dead and buried, nobody would think about Kodak camera, Kodak films, all of that stuff. None of us would have ever agreed that it will be the case. Today, nobody talks about Kodak because it's
And that's all
simple
we knew.
cell phone.
And that's all we knew for years.
That's all we knew. A simple cell phone has 24 megapixel camera, 5 of them on Samsung, 4 of them on Apple phones. They take quality cinematic videos. Some of the videos you watch, some of the movies you watch were shot with iPhones and Samsung. Nobody talks about Kodak again. So my advice is, as long as you are in this time and this world, this time is going to reserve major success for the people who can rally their mindsets, be able to keep it strong, number one. People who can pivot, change direction. People who can reinvent themselves, and people who are ready to transform themselves.
Amazing.
And those are the key pillars of what I speak about all the time.
Yeah.
Mindset, pivoting, reinvention, and transformation. If you are not ready to do any of that, you'll most likely be left behind. I'm being serious. 1 minute, because think about it for a second, right? The speed at which things are changing, the speed at which things are evolving. Even companies today, we used to hire people only based on experience and qualifications and all that stuff. Today they are requesting what? Skill and knowledge. If you have the skill and knowledge, you don't necessarily have the volume of qualification or the number of years of experience that can bypass those things and give you a chance to do it. Right?
Yeah.
And another important point is that today you have a plethora of different careers coming out of different careers, coming out as offshoots of different careers. Who would ever know that? Who would ever think that today one of the most important things in content production, which is what every business needs today. Businesses never used to have content departments. Today they have marketing departments, and then they have content departments, departments that generate content for their business. And now you also have individuals doing that. Who would have ever known that the most important piece of generating consistently good content is the ability to write compelling and persuasive scripts?
So we have
today, script writers are being paid 6-figure salaries to just write content for companies that they can put on their social media every day. That is persuasive. So I'm thinking about all my friends I went to with school who were good in literature, who were good in history, who could tell stories. This is your opportunity. You don't have to be in America. You could be in Ethiopia. You could be in Australia. You could be in Bamenda, wherever it is. Plug into the global ecosystem. I am sitting here. I need somebody to help me take my post and turn it into scripts, which I can use to record videos and stuff like that, because I don't have the time to do that. Do you have the skill? Have you developed the skill? Have you gone on YouTube and take free classes on how to write persuasive, psychologically warm, and engaging scripts for social media? Or you just use social media only to look at people, look at stuff. Oh, see that one, it close, no fine. See the one, it be just fine. That one, this. Is that all you use it for? No. That is $1 billion business you have in your hand. I was reading a study the other day, Saghee. It says an average American spends 500 hours in their cars commuting to and back from work. 500 hours, Saghee, in their car. Do you know that the commute? If you commute in your car every day, going to work 5 days a week, you listen to an ebook, right? An audio book. Averagely, if you listen 1 hour, that will amount to 1 book a week. That is 4 books a month. By the end of the year, you are talking about 48 books. Do you know that volume of information, that volume of knowledge and material in the area of your expertise makes you a very respectable expert in that industry? Of course, there will not be something like aeronautics or something, right? But I'm just talking basic things like marketing, sales, script writing, or any of these things, even IT, all of those different things, right? So that is an opportunity we sit on, but we don't even think like that. How many people drive to work to and fro every day and they listen to an audiobook? When I understood that, I changed my habits. I don't have cable at home. I don't listen to anything. Everything I listen to morning till night is something that is feeding my mind, either consciously or subconsciously, with information or knowledge that I can use to better myself, and by extension, use platforms like this to amplify the message and maybe hopefully touch somebody and help their lives. It has to be
Amazing.
intentional,
Mhm.
okay? But now think about it this way too. Turning your car into a classroom, right? This is a stat I was reading from somebody. An average person spends 500 hours in their car, right? That is about 12.5 to 25, 40-hour weeks a year. That is about 25, 40, that 25 to 40-hour weeks translate into 1 to 2 semesters of university, almost full-time university attendance.
Mm.
Just listening
Wow.
to an ebook. Within those 500 hours, you spend every year driving in your car and cursing people in traffic,
I know.
right? So
Road
what I'm
rage.
trying to say here is that we don't have to do too much. We just have to do little things
Mhm.
consistently.
Yes.
I
Mhm.
don't know if I make sense.
You do. You do make a lot
Awesome.
of sense.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, we have a couple more questions. So,
Mhm.
entrepreneur, thanks for watching. The question is, he says, great conversation so far, or she, I don't know if it's a he or she. Are
Mhm.
all these immigration related tips strictly for those migrating from Africa to USA or the global north? Any advice for those doing reverse migration? So going
Thank
backwards.
Awesome question, Agopene. And I'm glad you asked that question. And I please forgive me, anybody who is listening to us. Our goal here is not to sell migration into different countries. All right. That's not our goal here. Our goal is just to discuss some of the realities of where we presently find ourselves physically. But that's a wonderful question you asked, because there is certainly a new trend in that. And it's a trend that we all have to recognize and implement at different points in our lives, right? Because one of the things I noticed when I came to America is that the strongest and the most productive and successful immigrant communities in America always had their anchor in their original home of birth. All my friends I had in college who are Jewish boys, they always went back to Israel because they always knew that whatever you do in America, you have to invest something of significance to make Israel better. It's the same with China. It's the same with Turkey. It's the same with India. It's the same with Russia. These things don't happen in a vacuum. It's intentional. So the question you ask, Agopreneur, makes a lot of sense, because I know there are a lot of people who aspire to leverage what they've acquired in the West or in other countries where they've been able to migrate into, and see how they can leverage that to their countries of origin. And that it cuts across the board in many different ways, right? It cuts across the board in multiple different facets of different things they can do. Think about the industry you work in, think about the skill you have, think about the knowledge you have, and you would always see a way by which you can certainly leverage that knowledge in the country of birth or your country of origin. And what I want to say also is that the reality of the times we live, I don't expect many people to pack up their bags and just move back to Africa if they're from Africa, or to Cameroon, or whatever African countries you're coming back from. No, that's not what I think is going to happen. What I project is going to happen is that as we go forward, there will be an increase in the hybrid lifestyle. A hybrid lifestyle means as people grow, people will start functioning between the two places, because that is truly the reality of even the world we live in today. I know people here, I have friends here in Austin who have businesses in Korea, they have businesses in Turkey, they live in Austin, Texas, they have a business in California. So they split the year among their business locations, right? They split the year amongst their business locations with that. They split the year amongst their business locations, and they go ahead and take care of business in all of these different places. So the way I see it as Agopreneur as is, for those who are thinking of reverse immigration, it's a great thing. In fact, I think it should be a moral duty for every immigrant. Wherever you find yourself, make that home, but don't forget to invest in your country of birth. Every great nation in this world has a great diaspora. Every great nation in this world has a great diaspora, and the diaspora has the responsibility to help make their country of birth better than it was, in spite of all the challenges. So, reverse immigration, for people looking at reverse immigration, the first thing I advise, don't just pack up and leave. Start making
Plan.
frequent trips. Make frequent trips. For example, if you are from Cameroon, a lot of people are here tell me about the different challenges and failures they've had. Yes, you live in America, you come, you work 10 years, and then you just back and go back and you want to start a business. No, things have changed.
Mm.
A lot
Yeah.
is different. You don't even understand the terrain no more. Take some time, go for a few vacations, right? See what it is
Mhm.
that is working. See what you can do. See how you can also, understand the new dispensation. The second most important thing, build networks on the ground. When I say networks on the ground, I mean people who share the same passion with you, people who want to work with you to build something, right? And a lot of times, trust me, a lot of times these people might not necessarily be your family members.
Mhm.
Because one of the misconceptions we have is, well, especially people living in, out of their countries of birth, they're always thinking they want to help their family members with business. They're not cut out for business, maybe. They're not cut out for entrepreneurship. It's not something they want to do, right? But you're pushing it down their throat. The next thing the business fails, and you're blaming your cousin,
You're
you're blaming
blaming
your
them.
brother. He didn't even have the skill, he didn't have the interest, he didn't have the motivation, he didn't have the mindset to even the tenacity to handle that, right? So move.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at reverse immigration, you have to look at those things. You also have to understand, you also have to have a long-term plan.
Yeah.
A long-term plan means you're not going in thinking in the next 2 years you just start making money. In the next 3 years you start making money. No, you have a long-term plan knowing that it takes maybe 10 years to get things going. In those 10 years, you have landmarks to determine if the business or whatever venture it is you are doing, if it's making some progress, then you want to keep doing it, or you want to switch around, you want to adjust, you want to do that, right? It's important to understand those things, because if not, you get burnt and then you come back with horror stories. And don't get
Mhm.
me wrong, business is tough in Africa. In most countries
Yeah.
in Africa, business is tough. I moved back to Cameroon. I've done business in Africa. I lived in Cameroon, did business in Cameroon, Congo, Gabon, Nigeria, all those places for 3 years. I got burnt. It was tough. But does it mean it cannot work? It can work. Because I got a lot of learning from there. And so doing
Mhm.
it now, it's different from the way I did it 12 years ago, 13 years ago. I
Mhm.
don't know if that makes sense.
You do.
But that
You do.
possibility is important. And
Mhm.
I think it's a moral prerogative of every immigrant, especially African immigrants, to make it a commitment in their hearts, in every small way possible, to invest in our continent
Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
our nations of birth. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be anything too big. Look at what you do. Look at what you're interested in. Start with the small seed you have. You could be a healthcare worker. Just help train people on some good practices.
Mhm.
Provide whatever it is you can provide with a mindset of development and not a mindset of rendering people um, uh, reliant and
Mhm.
dependent for the rest of their life. Because that is one of the things we also have to work on as a continent and as a people,
Mhm.
right? That's why I usually don't like to use the word help. I usually use the word invest. You are not going there to help. Help usually suggests a level of weakness, which is a benefactor, and a level of strength, which is a giver. I don't like that. I use invest, because even the benefactor who you are investing in, it's like you are planting a seed and nurturing it and watering it. That seed could even grow taller than you, and
Mhm.
it's going to be a good thing,
Mhm.
because the seed is maybe a little stunted because it's in a geography that is not necessarily conducive to its growth. And if
Yeah.
you just water it by your own investment, by your own support, by your own encouragement, you never know how far it can go.
Mhm.
Don't forget that even in the whatever country you can think about in this world, there are people there who are succeeding.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it's part of it is a mindset thing, right? But a big part of it is also being able to know how we liaise with our countries of origin, with their continent of origin, and how to
Mhm.
be able to support and invest in people, right?
Yeah.
Support and invest in people, support and invest. One of the big things I'm a big proponent of in my family, especially my family members, the younger ones who are back to Cameroon, I buy them courses all the time. I pay for internet connection. Study this, study this, study this, because that is capacity building. You don't necessarily need to be in the same geography like me. But if you understand this, you understand this, you understand web design, you understand this, you understand AWS, you understand these things, you can plug into the global ecosystem from anywhere. It might not be as available as someone living here, but it's still possible. Facebook, Google, all of them are opening major data centers in Kenya, in Nigeria. And we know Microsoft, Bill Gates has visited Nigeria many times. The guy from Facebook has visited Nigeria. They visited Ghana. Do you think they're just going there for leisure? Because they understand where the next frontier is. Not even the next frontier, but the present frontier. Do you realize today that the cost of production in China is out of the window? That's why most American companies are moving their things back onshore. The reason why is because China too has gotten to that point where they no longer want to pay nobody $10 an hour. But I believe $10 an hour is 5,000 francs an hour. That's a lot of money. I mean, that is Douala in different parts of Africa. I know people who work in global companies out of Cameroon making $4,000 or $5,000 a month. That's 2.5 million francs in Cameroon. Man, that's a good living. I'm not saying it's the rich or rich, no. But you can live a comfortable, decent life where you can also aspire to do great things, right? So what I'm saying is that a big part of it, especially talking about reverse immigration, is those of us who are out in different parts of the world. When we are immigrating back, let's be cautious about what we are bringing back to our home countries. Let's not be bringing back superiority complexes. Let's not be bringing back, I know better than you. Let's not be bringing back, because I'm a healthcare worker in America, you who is a healthcare worker in Cameroon, you are inferior. No. I know situations a lot where, people, maybe their parents are sick or something, right? And the daughter or the son is here in the US, maybe it's a nurse practitioner. They call the doctor, they start screaming at the doctor, and then, no, this guy is a medical doctor, for God's sake. He might not have the equipment of America, but it doesn't mean he doesn't have the knowledge of medicine. He can only work with the realities of his circumstances, right? Sometimes there is good reason to scream or whatever. But I'm just saying that, listen, as people trying to immigrate and support and invest in our continent and our nations, let's understand this human dynamic. Come back with knowledge. Come back with ways of investing in people. Come back with innovations. Come back with different things that can help our people go further. Come back with different ways by which you can ignite the human spirit, by which you can encourage the human mind to find a way to dig deeper. Don't forget that Africa has the youngest population in the world today. That's why the Facebooks are going back there. Africa has the youngest population in the world today. I don't want to talk about all the other things we all know about resources. That's a different story because all of that. I'm just talking about human capacity. People see India today taking over the world. They've held the IT industry of the world and the science, technology, and STEM industry of the world in a chokehold. It's not only their population. Yes, the population helps. That's a 1.2 billion country, right? But the reason why they've held the world in a chokehold is that about 40 years ago, the leader at that time took a conscious decision to refocus the education of India towards science, technology, engineering, math, and information technology. It was a conscious effort because they looked at it and they said, hey, what is a product that we can export to the world and become very successful people? We'll export our skill set, we'll export our talent, right? And while exporting that talent, our people never gets lost. They'll always find a way to come back and invest in India. And that's why the exchange has been working. So I'm also asking myself, when we are thinking about reverse immigration, what are some of the unique talents and skill sets that we have in our continent, right? That we can export to the world, that we can bring to the world, that we can develop for ourselves and export to the world, because it's easier to export today. I don't know if I'm making sense. If maybe you are somebody who spent the last 10, 15 years working as a customer service success manager for companies, think about opening a customer service center in Cameroon or in Ghana or in Kenya. When I call AT&T or whoever I call, people answer in the Philippines. And I know for a fact that Philippines is not better than Cameroon or it's not better than Ghana. I know that. I see it. I see videos about the country. I'm not disparaging no country. I'm just saying that we underestimate ourselves. Right? So what is the unique skill you have? What is the experience you have? What have you been working on all your life or in the last 10, 15 years in whatever country you are? Think about how to leverage that skill and invest in other people with those skills, teach other people in their continent and country about those skills, and build networks and build communities and build capable people, right? That is the idea.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Wow.
that question.
Wow. We will have a part 3. I can see a part three brewing because we cannot finish this conversation today. I do want to shout out to a couple of people who made comments. Maggie is in the UK. That's my classmate and sister. She's in the UK. She said, absolutely, that's a great way of looking at it. You're investing in someone rather than helping in
No, there's no help. Investing.
Investing
That's
is
it.
long
Yeah.
term. And then beyond financial reset, my friend Sylvie, love what you said about entrepreneurship. A mistake people make is starting a business because they need money. Building a business takes time, and it will take an average of 5 to 8 years to succeed. So those tips, you know,
And
there
a
are a
lot
lot
of
of
it.
people out there. Yes.
That's where mindset comes into play.
Yeah,
You know, I watched it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Maggie had a question. She said, people often have unrealistic expectations of life in the West. How do you manage those expectations? And that will be our last question.
Oh yeah. I think people have expectations based on what they've been told or what they've seen or what they've been given or what they just perceive in their minds, right? Now it's fair. Don't also forget that expectations in and of itself is not a bad thing. Every human being should have expectations of themselves. Where it becomes a challenge is having expectations on other people. Does that make sense? That's where it becomes a little bit of a challenge because you're counting on something you cannot control, which is wrong. Or having expectations, or I'm sitting here, I'm having expectations of Maggie's purse because Maggie's my sister, she has to, right? Of course, naturally, there have to be some expectation in life. But what I'm saying is, I think it's important the way you manage expectations is, first of all, encouraging everyone to own their lives. What I mean by own their lives is always think, number one, about how there can be mutual benefits. Mutual benefit means what? A lot of times, right, when people come to ask for maybe a favor or for you to invest in them, they always talk about what is in it for them. They never talk about what is in it for you, right? Listen to how a young cousin of mine approached me. She came to me and said, Uncle, you know, I've noticed that you're starting to be, not starting, but I've noticed all the work you do. You know, you're the one posting your stuff. You're the one trying to write your script. Listen, why don't you pay a class for me to learn about social media marketing so that way I can come take that responsibility off your shoulder, right? And you can focus on the things you do best. That way, I believe your business is going to grow faster. And then you'll also be able to generate more income and you'll certainly be able to pay me too handsomely and we all will be happy. Think about that value proposition. They just didn't, she didn't come to me and tell me, hey, uncle, can you buy me this class? I want to learn this. Okay. That might be an expectation she thinks because she's my cousin, I should. No, but at the end of the day, that's an expectation on somebody you cannot control. But when you make it mutually beneficial, then everyone sees their collective interest in why it is important to invest that kind of way.
I think we lost you.
Oh, you lost me?
Yeah,
can you hear me?
We lost you for a minute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Yes. So in relation to Maggie's question, I think the way we manage that expectation is also being able, number one, to just be transparent with our people about what the realities of the lives we live in the West is. Number two, also reinforcing the universal rule, whether it's in whatever part of the world. It might be slightly easier because opportunities are there, but there are fundamental rules of achievement that you must respect. There is hard work, there is faith, there is postponement of present enjoyment for future gains, there's looking for a mentor, and things like that, right? Even in the countries which are looked upon as affluent countries, don't you know people who are failures?
Of
Don't you
course.
know people who have just not been able to do anything with their life despite the opportunities they have available to them? Would
Yes.
you say it's because they are in the wrong geography? No, they're in the greatest nation on earth. They're in Canada, they're in China, they're in America, but they just can't do nothing. They have their papers, they're good, everything. They just can't do nothing. Maybe they just don't have the tenacity to work hard. They don't have the ambition, right? So it's very important to understand that one of the things which we need to understand, one of the things which we need to invest in is the ability to just stay on building that willingness and that ambition level, right? It's very important. It's
Yeah.
very important. I tell my wife every day, I say, these are the three things. If we give our children, we would have done our job as parents. Number one, the fear of God and the respect and love for humanity. Number two, the ability to always think about trying to do good. And number three, that hunger from within you to want to make something of your life.
Yeah.
If you have those three things, it's enough. I don't know if it makes sense, Saghee.
Yes.
If
A
you
lot
have
of
those three
things.
things, it's
Yes.
enough. I'll tell you a very personal story here, and I was having a conversation one time with my father, the later parts of his life, a few years before he died. And he asked me, he said, "My son, you've never asked me for anything. Why? You've never came up to me and asked me, Daddy, I want this. I want you to give me this. Or why haven't you done that?" I said, because you've already given me the three most important things in my life. Number one, you've taught me hard work and the fear of God and love for humanity. Number two, you've taught me how to be ambitious. Number three, you gave me your DNA and you've given me a good name. That's enough. Okay. The reason I bring that up is because we all come from a source which has a lot of positivity to it. A source that comes from hard work. I think about most of the people I know, most of us from Cameroon, right? The schools we went to, economically, it would be impossible to think about the math for a lot of parents to afford their kids to go to those schools. But they were able to make the sacrifice.
Yes.
They were able to work hard and to postpone present enjoyment so that you can go to PSS, you can go to Sacred Heart, you can go to SASE, you can go to GBHS, you can go to CCC, you can go to Progressive. Most of these parents didn't even make 100,000 francs a month. Right? So when we think about that kind of mindset, we think about that kind of spirit and the ability and the willingness to make that sacrifice, it should guide us in our own lives. It should tell us a story about the need to plant trees under whose shade we will never sit under. Okay.
Yes. Wow.
I think we've had a great time today, Saghee. It's a great pleasure.
We have, and we really appreciate you. I mean, it could go on and on and on, and but we don't want people to get exhausted, right? We want them to go home and absorb these sayings, especially this one about the shade. We want people to go absorb it and really think about it so we can make a change in our communities. Everyone who's been watching, I do appreciate every single one of you for watching or sharing the video. And before we go, make sure you subscribe to Gustav B. Achu on YouTube. You are enough. If you see You Are Enough, you know that it's him. He's on Facebook, he's on YouTube, he's everywhere. Every day he's posting something that motivates you, something that will change your life, something that will change your direction, the way you're thinking, just the way he's speaking here today. That's all about him. That's him through and through. And there's no secret why I had to bring him on to talk about mindset, because he has a strong mindset and he's willing to share it with everybody. So Gustav, I appreciate you, my brother.
Absolutely, Saghee. Absolutely.
Anytime.
Always
We'll
always a
do
great
part
pleasure.
three.
Certainly. Huh?
We'll do part
Absolutely. Always
three.
a great pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on the platform, of course. And for everybody watching, certainly appreciate your time. Check me out on YouTube. Check me out on Facebook. Go ahead, subscribe to my channel. And that way, I usually put out videos once a week, long form videos on Fridays. I put out short videos every week, every day. And I also post something uplifting, something positive. I hope it makes a difference to somebody's life, right? So if you subscribe to the channel, you of course will get the information the first. And usually before I leave, I would like to leave you with something, and something I really want you to think about. And I want to go past your mind. I want to go past your mind and go straight into your heart. You see, when I come on the platform like Sagis, Tori Day, and all these different platforms, my number one goal is to cause an emotional volcano in your spirit. I want to force you to stop using only your head and use what truly lies in the bottom of your heart as a dream, as something you really aspire to in your life. Because sometimes when you over process stuff with intelligence, you lose the why and you are worried about the how. The why is the most important thing. When you know the why, the how doesn't matter. So I would like you to understand this. I might not get a chance to ever meet you in person. I don't know where you were born. I don't know the circumstance of your upbringing up until this point. I don't know where your geographical location is in this world. I don't know the people and the messages that have been spoken into your ear, into your mind, and into your hearts, convincing you to believe that maybe you're not capable, that you are not intelligent, that you are not capable of achieving the things that you believe you are capable of. I want to remind you today that you are enough, that you are intelligent, that you're smart, that you deserve a piece of achieving what it is that you aspire for your life. That you are a masterpiece and no two masterpieces are ever made the same. So as you go out today, be well, be blessed, and never stop being a blessing to somebody. Until next time, it's time for me to go have some good salmon.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, my daughter just
Have a
came
good
to
one.
tell me dinner is ready.
It's ready. The
Mhm.
salmon's ready.
Yes.
All right.
It was a
Bye,
great
guys.
pleasure.
Yes.